Welcome back to another series of Enriched Relationships.
Hey,
I'm Dr.
Rick.
I'm Dr. Rick.
Rick, why did you give that money to that homeless person earlier today?
I was trying to do our opening.
Yeah, I know, but this is important to me. Why did you give that money?
What money?
To the homeless person today.
You mean the one downtown?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to give him money. I mean, he had a sign that said, we'll work for food, but he didn't have any legs, so I just gave it to him.
But a lot of them say that. I mean, come on. I mean, how do you think he was going to spend it?
I don't really care he's going to spend it, Don. I gave him the money because he's homeless, he needed food, and I gave him some money.
Could you not tell he'd been, probably using it for drugs? And I mean, all you did was feed his drug habit. People
are hungry. You don't know that.
It was wrong.
It was not wrong. I mean, come on, Don. You don't know that he probably wanted to eat. I don't go around deciding whether they're doing alcohol or drugs or not. They're homeless. They need food. They want to eat, and they're a person, and so I feed them. Yeah. What makes you think you're right and I'm wrong?
Just because I think about the outcome of it, and the majority of the time.
You don't know the outcome. Do you follow them?
Yeah.
You do. That's called a lie, ladies and gentlemen. A flat out lie.
That's not true. Okay.
Yeah,
that's clear.
You don't follow them.
But it's wrong. I mean, all you're doing is feeding their habits. Otherwise, that's.
You don't know that. You don't know that. I mean, think about it. They don't eat. You admit they're homeless. So when someone's homeless, they don't have an income. They need to eat. Most of the shelters don't open until later in the day. Sometimes people can't get in there. I care enough to want to give them something to eat. What they do with it, money is up to them. I don't hold them accountable for what they do with it. I just care enough to give them the money.
Whatever.
So there you go. See, you think you're right and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Well, you're not.
Well, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think under the covers we're really trying to discuss versus who's right or wrong?
Well, number one, I don't think I've ever been under the covers with you. When we were growing up, we used to share a bedroom, but we had separate beds.
Definitely.
So I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Amen with that.
Yeah. So what are you referring to?
Well, I guess it's the fact of this. First of all, you guys know that we're just kidding around pretty well. And part of this conversation is because when I go downtown, I actually give these homeless people money. And the conversation that I've had with Rick is exactly what people I work with have with me. And so they want to make this a right or wrong thing. In summation, I don't know why right or wrong is even important. I think what's important is that somebody feels caring enough to want to give. And by the way, if I think about it from at least where I come from with my faith, I believe that I'm held accountable for the giving, and that person's held accountable for the spending.
So are you saying that in this little dialogue that we had, that you have in reality with people that you work with, are you saying that they're not right or wrong issues? They're what? Different?
They're just different. And actually, this whole conversation we had, because I've made a personal decision not to let it get into that right or wrong conversation, I just don't have that.
Interesting.
In other words, we can make a decision for it to just come out as we see differently. We don't have to build up into this whole right or wrong.
Don just used a word that I use a lot in the work that I do. So many times people get into conflict and they start to squabbling, and this civil war goes on in their relationships, and they're battling back and forth.
Rick, you would use the word civil war the way that you're a civil war freak.
Yeah. Actually, I wrote on my blog today about the civil war in marriages and how marriages have these civil wars going on inside their homes. So that's where I kind of thought about that. But we're in the middle of battlefields here. I mean, you think about it. We're just all around it. So, I was trying to say before I was so rudely interrupted that in our work, we've come to realize that couples battle about things, and people battle about things. He's right, I'm wrong, I'm right, he's wrong, and really these are not right or wrong issues. They're just differences in perception.
Yes.
And the difference in perceptions get labeled as right or wrong.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct. So if you look at even the situation, that there's one caring person who doesn't want to feed a bad habit because they know that it will negatively affect that homeless person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's another person who wants to provide a need because they care enough. In other words, both actually really care.
I just picked that up. So you're actually suggesting, especially to those listening, that both people are operating out of care?
Yes.
How can it not be caring to not feed someone that you see that definitely needs food?
I would say that it's a different conversation, but what I am trying to get to is that they both really operated out of care from different perspectives.
Exactly. I hope you're catching this, folks. This is a real important point we want to make. One cared because they saw someone hungry, and because they said, hungry person, perceptions, hungry, they cared enough to give. Other person saw alcoholic, drug addict, if I feed this, it feeds the addiction. I care enough about this person to not feed the addiction. Their care motivates them to not give because they don't want to be a part of this person continuing to harm themselves.
So it leads to this, that if so many times if we would really discuss our thoughts and our feelings about things versus trying to say, start out with a stance of, I know what mine are, and mine are right, and I don't like the way that theirs seems, even though I don't really know what it is under the covers, but I'm going to do my best to make them feel like they're wrong and that I'm right, as if right or wrong even matter as much as the relationship matters.
Interesting point. So I think as we wrap this up, what we can say is that I am much better looking than Don is.
And I would agree.
Thank you for joining us on another time of Enriched Relationships. I knew I was right.
You are.
I know.
Good night.
Good night.